Have you ever stopped to wonder, why do we even do what we do every day? Whether it's shuffling through endless paperwork or tapping out a few lines of code, most of us are stuck in an endless loop. Some days we give it our all, other days, not so much. But when the workday ends, oh boy, that's when the magic happens. For me, that's the moment I've been waiting for. The moment where I get to dive back in to classic World of Warcraft.
I've always considered myself a simple man. A good cup of coffee with my favorite game. What else is there to want? I mean, I guess there's stuff like marriage and raising kids and fostering a community, but let's just forget about that crap for a second. All my life, I've heard that playing video games is a waste of time. Bebo, you should do something more with your life. Go start a business or learn how to make pottery. Yeah, sure, bro. Like, if I make some bowls and plates, then my life's gonna be fulfilled. Got it. I'll have you know that spending my Saturday in the crossroads of the Barrens is where I want to be. So, what kind of person does that make me? A loser!
Video games have always been a major part of my life, for better and for worse.
I grew up watching my dad play Blizzard games on our MS-DOS way before we even had dial-up internet. Watching him command his troops in Warcraft 2 to flank an enemy base was the highlight of my day. Of course, I didn't know it at the time, but my fate had already been sealed. Blizzard was going to have a profound effect in my life going forward. As soon as I was able to, I was diving into the world of Azeroth for myself. And there was no better place to be. Of course, little Bebo had no idea what was going on, but Blizzard was currently going through a crazy winning streak. Warcraft Orcs and Humans had become the largest success to date that finally made the company financially solvent. Then they followed that up with Warcraft 2 and Diablo and completely cemented themselves as the golden boys of PC gaming. Real-time strategy in Warcraft and StarCraft solidified my love for this franchise, but World of Warcraft comes along and then just changed everything.
It truly was a worldwide phenomenon. It quickly became one of the most profitable video games of all time.
I really could just lose myself in this world. And that's exactly what I did. Every opportunity I had, I was doing quests in Westfall, running dungeons, learning professions, or making friends. Anytime I ran out of things to do, I could just start it all over again. This game was tapping into something that I had desperately craved. And for about a year or two, things were good.
But the year 2007 happened and basically threw all that crap out the window. That was the year in which video games were officially banned in the Bebo household. Yeah, I know, this is basically the worst thing that's ever happened to anyone on Earth, so you'll definitely find a GoFundMe link in the description below. Make sure you check that out for sure. Thank you. And that was basically it for a long time. I was condemned to touching grass for nearly 10 years. And you know what? I learned something really valuable in that time.
It's pretty dull out here. Like, the graphics aren't even that good. I dabbled in retail around 2015 for a week or two, but it never really resonated with me. I remembered that I was able to go all the way to level 80 without having to complete any quests or form any groups. It's hard to put into words, but the best way I can describe it is that it felt hollow. WoW had gone through so many changes over the years with expansions like Cataclysm and Kung Fu Panda Edition that overhauled so many systems and areas that they were basically unrecognizable for somebody like me.
The game was still called WoW, but it wasn't my WoW. That is, until that fateful day arrived.
And I want to talk about ice cream. Ice cream is great. Ice cream is one of my favorite desserts. Personally, I love chocolate and I love cookies and cream. Cookies and cream is actually my all-time favorite dessert. But I understand that for some of you, your favorite flavor is vanilla.
BlizzCon 2017 arrives, and along with it brings back something that we all thought was lost forever: classic World of Warcraft. Until then, vanilla WoW was something that was just propped up by diehard fans on private servers, most notably being Nostalrius. But they were all shut down due to legal action from Blizzard. So this was the very first time we were going to get a developer-backed version of Classic, and everyone, including myself, went nuts.
It was 10 years ago that I had stepped away from video games entirely, so it felt like this was made specifically for me. So, naturally, I had to try it out.
Just like that, I was right back to questing in zones that I grew up in. The halls of Stormwind were just as glorious, and the forests of Ashenvale were just as tranquil. So much time had gone by, but this game still felt just as fun as I remembered all those years ago. It's reasonable to think that with all this time that I could have just outgrown video games, but that wasn't my experience at all. Leveling up, acquiring gear, and conquering dungeons was just as satisfying as I had remembered as a kid, and I couldn't be happier.
Ever since then, Classic has been the de facto version of WoW for me. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But more than anything, it's not about the features that it has, but it's more about the features that it doesn't have.
I wouldn't say that Classic is a simple game, but compared to its retail counterpart and what it's become over the years, yeah, it's really simplistic. If you follow what the game suggests, you will succeed, albeit eventually, especially if you make friends.
Socializing in Classic feels natural because it requires you to reach out to someone specifically, instead of relying on a matchmaker. Of course, it's way more convenient to be instantly teleported to a dungeon instance, but convenience can often be a detractor in a game like this.
If I just wanted convenience, then I'd be playing Call of Duty multiplayer with 1-second spawn timers. Maybe MMO players are just masochists, but so much of the charm, like classic WoW or old school RuneScape, lies in their sharp edges. Not every quest is going to be a simple fetch quest, and you might even have to get help from other people to even stand a chance on some of them.
All that being said, I appreciate the fact that the Dungeon Finder in Classic still enforces this behavior. These simple little details that we take for granted in modern gaming are some of the best ways to meet new people that might actually care about your experience. Of course, this runs the risk of making certain people uncomfortable, and I'm not saying that there aren't bad experiences that can happen, but I'd say that the good far outweighs the bad here.
This sense of community has become one of my favorite parts of playing these older MMOs. The people I've met over the years have been surprisingly kind. There have been countless times that an overleveled stranger would lend me a hand on a quest, or trade a weapon that they had just found. People didn't have to go out of their way, but they did anyway.
Compare that to competitive games like Overwatch or League of Legends. It's not good, man. It's not good. I suppose you could chalk that up to an older player base of millennials and boomers. Maybe this is our version of playing shuffleboard or whatever the hell old people do. Even if it is, though, how does that explain this huge disparity in mindset amongst gamers?
Matsuo Basho once said that every day is a journey, and the journey itself is home. It's a line that makes you stop and think. If you had the powers to just snap your fingers and in a moment have everything you'd ever wanted, with the perfect house and maybe a private jet thrown in there too, would you then truly be happy? I think everybody would agree that having a mountain of money would be a great problem to have. But at the same time, it begs the question, what is it that you truly want out of life? I like this example because this is how most of us act when we play video games. If all you're after is the destination, then you'll likely miss out on the journey to get there.
Most of us, when we're playing a new game, go in with this mindset. If it's a Souls game, you gotta kill the hardest boss. If it's a Pokemon game, gotta catch all the Pokemon. If it's Overwatch, well, you probably shouldn't be playing Overwatch, but you get my point. But how long does that moment last when you finally hit that goal versus the amount of time you spent grinding towards it? What if all that time you spent on the journey was the end itself? This is the mindset that I'm talking about.
It wasn't that long ago that I discovered this for myself when I was playing Destiny 2. It was in the revamped Vault of Glass raid with my clanmates. The Vex Mythoclast was crazy broken at the time, so I wanted to get it for myself. And the only way was to do this raid and hope for the drop at the very end. I had my goal and I was determined to achieve it. So that's what we did. We ran that raid 3 times a week so I'd have a chance on all 3 of my characters. But the Vex was not to be seen. Months had passed, and our clan was set in our routine of Tuesday Vex runs. At this point, I wasn't even expecting the drop anymore. I was just having fun with my friends every week. It became this ongoing joke that this gun didn't actually exist, and it was just something that I'd made up in my head this whole time. 4.5 months in, and it wasn't until our 54th attempt at the Vault of Glass that it finally happened. There it was. Finally in my inventory, and I was able to become the menace that I always knew that I could be.
The thing is, after that, our clan no longer had a reason to run the raid anymore. Our Tuesday Vex runs became the highlight of my week, and now that we didn't need to run it anymore, we kind of just stopped playing. Ironically, now that I had reached the destination, I no longer had what I was looking for.
Something I think that's vastly underrated in the world of video games is learning patience. Everything around us has trained us to rely on instant gratification. From TikTok and Instagram content to DoorDash and Amazon deliveries, we're trained to expect things at a faster and faster rate. So much so that it can rob us of deeper experiences. As it said, nothing worth having comes easy. Because of the sheer amount of hours required to get to max level in Classic, it naturally teaches you to manage your expectations. If you short circuit that process, then you end up with the same kinds of problems that every other modern game has today, like disposable seasonal content and constant weaponization of FOMO.
I think this is fueled by the idea that leveling is viewed as the chore you have to complete before you can get to the real content. Of course, this varies from game to game, but I would ask you, if that's the way you view these progression systems, then why do you have them in your game at all?
You're basically just saying that the actual game is a drag, so now you can just focus on these few activities. And if leveling is too easy, then it also signals to the players what they're doing isn't important either, or it's just a hindrance to them.
It's possible that something like impactful leveling is something that's only achievable in the initial state of an MMO, because as soon as that first expansion comes out, power creep is going to set in and rear its ugly head. I think this is why Classic works as well as it does, because the game in its entirety respects your time investment.
Classic WoW showed me that it wasn't about immediately getting to max level. Instead, it was the experiences along the way that made the mountaintop feel satisfying. The good ones being the friends that you made in the dead mines, or maybe even the bad ones like getting ganked in Stranglethorn.
This is why I think Classic WoW has had such an impact on my life, because its heart lies in the character's journey. Much like our real lives, there isn't one singular goal that's going to solve all of our problems, but it's the way that we approach them that gives our goals meaning. Being able to enjoy the process of your life, the in-between and difficult parts, is an art form that we can actively develop to better shape our own destinies. All too often, we can get fixated on the end goal, or maybe a goal that we think that other people expect from us. So much so that we forget to live our actual lives. It's a trap that's all too easy to fall into. So make sure whatever life you're building, it's one that you're truly proud of.
As for me, I'll be in the crossroads of the Barrens, the forests of Elwyn, and the plains of Mulgore. Probably looking for a group. As always, thank you so much for watching, and consider liking or sharing it with a friend, as that will tell the YouTube overlords that this video is worth showing to other people. Otherwise, your viewership is more than enough for me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Love you, bye. Something that I think is vastly underrated in the world of video games